Welcome back. It's the 21st day of January 2025. Oh, we're off to a banger. See, the United States President told the World Health Organization that it's all over. It's going to take him a year, though, to get away from that cult, that death cult. Yeah, there's that map again. There's something in it. What's wrong with people putting that map out there? What's wrong with these people? They got no self-respect. That story was connected to Ken Abusler. I don't know if you ever heard of that creature. He took me to court, actually, him and Jay Cullen, right? Well, a slap suit, right, just to tie me up in litigation for years. Kind of worked in my favor, though, didn't it? 709-589-4406 after 6 gig orders, I guess. Or 6 gold medals for activism, we like to call it. You can call in. We're in Canada. We take calls from America, from Mexico. You can text me, or you can get in the comment section, yell at me. Hey, you rascal. Whatever that looks like, when you just close one eye, do you see the devil? It's weird, eh? Or you open your eyes up, look, there's no devil. Close one of your eyes. Is it closed? Watch. See that? It's one of the devil. Something strange in it. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. James actually put a song out about the blood-sucking pirates known as the International Atomic Energy Agency. They're the biggest cowards on the planet. They're like little children, actually. Floating nuclear plant in Russia Arctic generates a big volume of electricity. And they just changed the fuel. This was the nightmare barge, the floating Chernobyl. And so they didn't have the courage to come out and said that they took the fuel out of the reactor and put it in the fuel pool. Instead, they said to put it in the storage room. I don't know of a fuel that doesn't go into a pool. The minute that it's exposed to oxygen, it'll detonate. It's gone in a pool, right? The slimes, eh? Trying to hide that. What a bunch of slimes. That's nuclear industry. What are you going to do, I suppose? Algeria, again, relentlessly forever. What is it, like 10 administrations later? And France still won't take responsibility. Allegedly, they don't know where the waste is. They want France to tell them where the waste is. This is quite an interesting one, because anybody could have solved that with a Geiger counter. The Americans or any country could have flown over the desert and found the biggest radioactive pile. They would have found it, fly over at 1,000 feet. But a really good Geiger counter, you would imagine you can find it. Not imagine, I know you can. And what France done to Algeria and the French Polynesians was equal to a Nagasaki, which is a plutonium bomb, every week for 12 years. That's the radioactive fallout animosity equivalent. And for over 10 administrations, 10 different presidents, they have presidents and prime minister in France. You can never get rid of the president. The prime minister is basically the fall guy for whatever the president screws up, right? France has gone through 4 of them last year, prime ministers. And still got Macron, the president. What a stupid thing to have in your country as a president or a prime minister. It was good. There was good intentions, right, originally, but it didn't work out for us on this planet at all. Algeria is, once again, we got to get into the big shot, the big picture, the big frame. Because I worry about you. I don't know. You might be on a cell phone trying to watch this. Bless your hearts, or on. You might be on a tablet. It's very difficult to read anything. Algeria has once again urged France to assume full, unequivocal responsibility. Just clean up your fucking mess that you left there, man. Come on. Stop being a nightmare. The Sahara Desert ends up, like you'll see these red plumes on the weather channels and that from the Sahara, where they have these plumes that covers continents, and it's radioactive fallout from France's, the perpetual, wherever it lands, it radiates something, flowers or trees or people, or it's a snuff machine. That's one great big snuff movie. That's what nuclear is. Exterminates all the species. It loves you so much. Love to kill you. Kill you. That's what we should call nuclear. It's kill you. Get rid of the word nuclear. Call it kill you. Call it what it is. Kills everything. Has Fukushima radioactive fallout contaminated and poisoned all the water on the planet, every species on the planet, and all the humans? I couldn't get the word. I couldn't get S in there. And I had changed my glasses. They're working on the skidoo because we got a major snow squalls down there today. All day, all night, tomorrow. I got some videos and pictures coming up, actually. You first look at skidoo coming up. She's pretty. We put a winch on the back of it today. Had to weld everything up and got it all done working just before it got dark a few hours ago. As he underscores the enduring in a snowstorm. It tells you what I'm like. Oops, I got caught out on that one. I'm not going in the woods without a winch on the skidoo. Been there, didn't like that at all. I think I got a hernia the last time. As he underscored the enduring environmental health consequences of these tests on the Algerian citizens. The whole country, every insect, every bird was polluted with the equivalent of 12 Nagasaki bomb every week for 12 years. That's the equivalent of radioactive fallout. What was it, 2 decades of setting off nuclear weapons? They couldn't get it right no matter what they done. The only thing they can manage to do was they attacked themselves in any countries they were occupying, just like the British done. Emphasized the need for urgent action. Why did they go after all the tropical paradises, I wonder? You got the French Polynesians with the French. Britain done Christmas Island and Montebello, Marilinga. United States went out and whacked the Marshall Islands, all these tropical paradises. These were tropical paradises. Like fairy tale tropical paradises, that's what those places were. Now they're not worth shit. The Marshall Islands got a study from 2019 is 1 million square kilometers is still too radioactive to be habitable. What does that mean, I wonder? Radioactive fallout is real, Dana. Oh, really? What about Fukushima? Again, like they're going through the motions. It's not like France doesn't know what they done. It's not like France is like, don't talk to them. They refuse to tell them where's to, despite the massive congenital malformations, birth defects, radiation, fallout issues, heart problems, liver problems, lung, just skyrocket everywhere down there. Department of Energy experts reveal a game-changing mission to safely neutralize dangerous radioactive substance. Well, like, what you know what they're talking about? So they're going to take fuel from a nuclear chain reaction. They're going to grind it up, they said, like it's a bit of dirt or something. They're going to mix it with lower grade uranium. And it's called, it's known as downblending, right? It's simply not, just because you mix radioactive fallout into something doesn't mean it's not poison and splitting atoms. The fuel is still going to be splitting atoms. So what they neglected to say is that the fuel is splitting atoms, and what they're going to do is pretend that they're neutralizing it by claiming that they're going to blend it with lower grade uranium. Are these like literally monsters to say and suggest anything like that? You literally got to be a monster to suggest that it could work. Oh, that's right, it is monsters. Oak Ridge National Laboratory. No big surprise. Monster see, monster do. Yes, Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And they're built on one of the biggest aquifers in that part of the country that's feeding around 25,000 farms. It's massive. They're like a little speck over this huge aquifer. They do that so if they have a chain reaction, China syndrome, you go bloop into the water and like, everything good, go back to sleep. Eat your vegetables. And grinding the spent fuel into fine particles, which are still going to be split in atoms. Like you can't, if you put it through a chain incinerator, it's still going to be split in atoms. The fuel will. Less potent uranium drastically reduces danger level. So they're talking about neutron, gamma shots, X-rays, beta rays, stuff like that. But what they neglected to say is that the problem with nuclear fuel is it's splitting atoms. What I mean by that is a reactor core splits atoms to boil water, and these atoms don't just turn to fairy dust, by the way. They're there forever. And every second they're just producing all these extra atoms to boil water for 1 million homes and businesses. It's a lot, right? You can imagine what we're talking about. We don't have a word that encompasses the enormity of a minute, let alone a 24-hour period of these atoms splitting. It surpasses any numeral that we acknowledge. And these atoms are in a containment, right? But once 14 months later, you can take it out of the containment. The fuel is still going to be split in atoms. Now it's in a pool boiling water. It's still boiling water in a fuel pool. It evaporates about 120,000 liters per pool. Each building probably got 2 pools. And each liter is a catastrophic snowstorm of radioactive fallout. There's no containment. It's pumped up those tall, skinny stacks. And typical nuclear power plants surrounded by farms, as far as you can see, particularly if you're on a satellite. These are the very last thing you want. Like, my biggest fear is we'll discover a planet with 8 billion people, and the nuclear industry will go up there and start a chain reaction nuclear on the planet, and by in a decade or 100 years later, every species will be exterminated from the radioactive fallout, just from the fuel pools. We'll eventually exterminate everything on this planet. You don't need nuclear meltdowns, but we did. We had quite a few. And Chernobyl was a whole bunch at the one time. About 36 reactors melted down because you're counting the fuel pools at the top of the buildings. They're the same inventories. It doesn't matter, not a running reactor. They had already gone through a chain reaction. And that the radioactive fallout is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. Like we are so late to the game. We are so far down the rabbit hole. And they are blasting this stuff everywhere with their dirty bombs, right? The A-10 Warthog only shoots dirty bombs. 2019, they were taking bids on the disposal of 36 million DOLRAM, depleted uranium, low-level radioactive material bullets. The real name for them is dirty bombs. Every one of them has the what's the word for it? Attributes of a dirty bomb. Every one of them. 36 million dirty bombs. McAllister, Oklahoma. Like 1,000 buildings down there. All of it's nuclear. The whole community only works at the nuclear weapons manufacturing facilities. There's 4 major ones, right? McAllister. But I mean, there's like 1,000 of these buildings down there. There's all kinds of things they're doing. It's the biggest dirty bomb factory I know of on the planet. Like in a single place. As a result, the material is neutralized and cannot be recovered for further future misuse. This is such a dishonest thing to suggest that this neutralized. They actually say the word neutralized. They should be held accountable under the racketeering laws for using that language, right? It's completely inappropriate, and it's dishonest and disingenuous, and it's done. The words are used in contempt, right? Because they understand the average person, that 99.9% of the population, have no concept of how hideous and monstrous and odious and vicious this industry, this coward industry is. So Trump's told Sopra social media to stop censoring Americans. Must be nice. I'm in Canada. I'll never know that freedom. As a result, the material is neutralized and cannot be recovered. See, it's completely dishonest. Yeah, it's nuclear. Damn, what do you expect? It's a good point. You got a good point. Can't argue with that one. It's not a breakthrough. This is a complete... It's hoodwinking. It's gaslighting you, right? It's a straw man. You should respond appropriately. Waste challenge, like by neutralizing radioactive waste. That's such a big lie that they could be convicted, like Householder, under the racketeering statutes. People should report them in America for writing these lies and get an investigation going about them. That's racketeering by telling a lie like that to the population, to manipulate the population, deceive the population, and then ultimately poison the air, the food, the water. And then they got the arrogance, the incredible hubris to suggest that protecting drinking water ecosystems and human health. How can you do that with something that's splitting atoms every second you can't contain? They really are the most worthless. When they die, they should be turned into paper towels or something, or toilet paper or something, rather. Proper nuclear waste management. Costly cleanup efforts for mass contamination ensure nuclear energy remains reliable, affordable. So this was about gaslighting the population into thinking that they come up with a solution for nuclear waste without acknowledging what the actual problem with nuclear waste is, which is splitting atoms. So when it's the reactor core is splitting atoms to boil water for 1 million homes and businesses. When you take it out, it's still splitting the same atoms. Now there's no containment, and this fucking stuff never goes away. It's a disease factor. That's the only way you can that's the proper way to describe it. Heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. You see all that exploding since Fukushima, huh? Have you? Huh? Huh? Have you? Huh? Huh? You know you have. I've been working in the snow squalls all day, busted up. But I won. I won today. Today I won. It's an inside joke. My feet are still cold. Let me put it that way. Similarly, U.S. researchers found a way to prevent nuclear power plants from overheating by allowing water to boil and turn into vapor. If the fuel touches here, it melts down. That's simply how it works. And then the water is so contaminated with isotopes, when you put the fuel in the holding pools, you're boiling off 120,000 liters a day. Each liter is poisoning. There's enough atoms to poison every bird on the planet. You need a single atom to cause an autoimmune trigger permanently. It's permanent, right? It's not like you cut your finger, it heals after 3, 4, 5, 6 days. The radiation sequestered in your muscles, your organs, your bones. It's pulsing energy at the speed of light every second. That's the problem with this stuff. Once you release it, it's pulsing energy at the speed of light. It's still splitting atoms on top of that. If you're going to tell a bunch of lies, might as well go for it, I suppose, right? That's what they done. We're keeping an eye on these gangsters. They're gangsters, and they use... like when they drink their milk, they have to still put a baby's... Entergy surges to new highs as executives discuss increasing nuclear power capacity. Yeah, so if they fart, everybody in the nuclear industry will go, "Woo, that was wonderful! Buy stocks, buy stocks, buy stocks, buy stocks!" It's like they wake up in the morning and their loved ones wind them up and they go, nuclear, something about small modular reactors, buy shares in that. It's crime, man. They have 14 big financial institutes will buy stocks in small modular reactor companies like NuScale and Nano and Oklo and Sam Altman and rest like that. And then 2 weeks later sell the shares. But at the same time, what happened is all the mom and pop investors bought shares because they thought the stocks were rising. And then the big 14 companies sold all their stocks 2 weeks later and stole all mom and dad's money, life savings. The company also has a memorandum of understanding with Holtec, Chris Singh, to evaluate the use of small modular reactors, George. The small modular reactor is going to build in Canada are 270 feet tall. Fukushima's were only 190 feet, 19-story building, 65 meters. Canada's going to be 12 stories below ground, 14 stories above it or something. That's a small modular reactor, though. They don't give a fuck about you. Like, why not use geothermal? You'll have it up running next year or this year. Instead, you're going to wait 15, 16 years for something that'll poison you for 100,000 or a million. Why are you doing solar and wind? Like, you only use solar and wind if you got geothermal. Use solar and wind for peak power and use storage. Like, dig big tunnels and compress air down these big mine shafts and tunnels. So you got lots of wind when the sun is not shining and the wind is not blowing. The company's also a memorandum of understanding with Chris Singh. Fukushima Prefecture confronts teacher misconduct crisis. all the teachers, not all of them, but an awful lot of teachers in Japan are predators. They get their teaching degree so they get in where all the little children. It's disgusting, man. You just, like, go over and start reading the stories, and you get all these other stories showing up, and you're like, holy shit, I'll never go to Japan. Japan's living in the 22nd century. The solar panel is more powerful than 20 nuclear reactors. So Japan has invented a new solar panel, much lighter, flexible, and it's 43% theoretical efficiency limit compared to 29% for a standard silicon cell. So 14% theoretically, right? So let's cut that in half. 7% more efficient. It's a big deal. And it's flexible. Like the ideal solar panel is not a panel. But you know how you make Christmas trees, artificial Christmas trees? Well, that's what you should be doing for solar panels. Because then the sun, no matter which direction it's coming from, is getting a massive amount of sun. So even if you took artificial trees and dipped them in something that would convert energy, and then it looks normal. You can have all these different sized trees, right, instead of big solar cells. It's just me. Maybe I'm stupid. Who knows? Japanese lawmakers to beat the Chinese. Do you know that every year since Fukushima, a massive planet killer happened, Japan's just constantly after China to let them ship radioactive food from the nuclear wasteland. And that's what it is, like from the nuclear wasteland. There was a big controversy with Taiwan, and it was crazy. People were like, we'll take food everywhere, but Fukushima, right? Because you had a whole bunch of reactors melt down, stupid. I'm like, no, you got to take it. When South Korea said no, they took them to the World Trade Organization. Japan did, UN. Ties between the two Asian neighbors have been strained by various issues, including China's ban on the Japanese seafood. And so what they're trying to do is Just look over there, but don't look over where Dana's showing you. Hang on. I didn't set that one up very good. There's data sometimes, but I can't get everything right. I'm a busy boy. So we had 2 small zodiacs had to be wrapped up in the so-called snow squalls today. I managed to pull that off. That was a bit of a... And it's blowing pretty heavy all day too, right? Got that accomplished. We had changed out 3 winches in the last 2 weeks. One on the quad, one on the small trailer, and now one on the skidoo. The skidoo didn't have one before, right? But the other 2 broke. In less than a week, I had 2 broken winches. One of my own fault because the remote control got jammed in the glove box, and the trailer was right there, and it just I didn't know it was happening. Eventually, just killed it. Okay, so here's what I'm looking for. Dina. I was stalling that time. I spent the whole freaking day out there getting brutalized. I feel better though. I got all that done. At least cause it's going to snow tomorrow too, right? And the next day. I got my fingers crossed. We got 14 prefectures were banned by 55 countries for a decade. But China and Japan is upset because they won't eat the fish. They won't let the fish come in. Since the imports were imposed last year. Now, wait a second. Hang on. Hold everything. Calm down, Charlie. The reactors blew up. Covered the whole fucking planet. The entire friggin' planet. Unit 1, Unit 3. It ejected the reactor cores and the fuel pools out of the buildings. Oh no, Dana, Mr. Dana, there's like a potato chip and water in the sunshine. 80 years of lying to you like that. That's racketeering, right? It's like there's not a nuclear scientist on the planet who looked at reactor 3 and 4 and didn't know the fuel pools and the reactor cores were gone. Just a single reactor is about 100 Chernobyls, because Chernobyl was a brand new reactor, was a small reactor. It didn't have fuel pools, decades of reactor cores and fuel pools at the top of the buildings that don't exist anymore. And reactor 4 has never been acknowledged. They've never acknowledged it. And unlike reactor 1 and 3, we have the pictures and videos, but there's no picture or video of reactor 4 because that was the first one they covered up. That went up in your left-hand corner. Dirty, rotten scoundrels. Following the start of the discharge of the treated. So they said China banned it in 2023, August the 24th, the actual date was, of 2023. But the reactors blew up, melted down in 2011. And that the food was banned by 55 countries for a decade. And so they're very nasty, disgusting. These are criminals, what they're doing. This is the worst crimes they're doing. They're poisoning every species on the planet. And so that's the cover story, right? The seafood. And since last year, since they started releasing water, the reactors actually blew up. Buoy. Hang on, I'll explain. And they're only looking at external doses for the population in the nuclear wasteland. They're not looking at internal doses. And you're like, well, I'm not in Japan, so I don't give a shit. Okay, hang on there, smart ass. This is the plumes based on 15 days of radioactive fallout. When the model stops, you're 15 days. If you're anywhere in that yellow, you've been poisoned. Your loved ones, your friends, your families, every insect, every bird, every creature, and all the water, all the precious, your most wonderful, your most wonderful, just wonderful water. Actually, my water is chlorine dioxide. I just got 2 new bottles. But it's good for you. Then he got out and he potato chips and bananas, Dana, so leave us alone. Japan's Warland theme park hailed as a B-grade spot built in a bid for peace. We don't get too many good stories out of Japan, do we? So I'll put that one there. But one guy was assigned to be a kamikaze unit during the Second World War, but he survived without departing on a mission. Did you know that Japan occupied North Korea for 50 years? And then Nagasaki, Hiroshima happened. And United Nations went in there and flattened it and ostracized them for 74 years. So for 124 years, North Korea has been ostracized from the entire planet and has been doing what any country would do, is trying to survive with this military-industrial complex known as UN 195 militaries. Millions dead, millions missing, millions in refugee camps, millions unaccounted for, millions of orphans. Why Cameco, Oklo, and Nano nuclear also today. Also big time. I know everybody's like, oh, Dzair, you covers this every 2 weeks. Yeah, I know. Look here, I just sold my stocks. 2 weeks time, I'm gonna buy when the bottom drops here. I'll buy again, and a week later I'll sell again. This is what they're doing: pump and dump every 3 weeks. Nano nuclear energy is on the stock market, doesn't have any reactors. Oklo is on the stock market, small modular reactors again, they don't have any reactors. Cameco is on the stock market, their stocks are growing with all the fake stories, but there's less reactors coming online every year than goes offline. So we need less uranium. They tell so many lies. They're not even trying to keep track anymore. UN, United Nations little muppets like International Atomic Energy Agency, UNSCLEAR, IRPA, the ICRP, these little monsters, facets of the United Nations, keeps the... So the journalists will get a story from one of these entities, and they'll print it, and they'll put their name on it. They'll build up audiences of fluff and garbage, and then they'll put their name on a story. This is how they get their monies, as they sell your souls so that they can pretend they're special. The future looks bright for nuclear. What are you talking about? Nuclear has been a dirty word for some time. It's an evil, disgusting parasite. Like, this poll's pretty, I've never done a poll like this forever, but has Fukushima radioactive fallout contaminated and poisoned all the water, every species, every human on the entire planet? Hell yeah, Dana. That's a fact, brother. Cameco is banking on strong uranium prices. But what are you talking about? Just because Sprout Physical Trust bought up the physical uranium and created an artificial demand to the miners, don't mean there's actually a renaissance. There was 660 gigawatts of just solar came online last year. That's equal to 700 large nuclear plants coming online in 12 months. That'll never happen. Why are you bothering with nuclear when you have geothermal? Oh, here comes some more stupid. U.S. Beefs up their latest little gadget. They can't use it. Looks like they got it on life support right there. Deploys the B-61-12 nuclear bombs across Europe. Don't worry, Trump will bring all them back home in the world. He's gone mad. He's just siding. The whole globalist industry must have lost their mind. You remember Operation Looking Glass? That's a strange story right there. But all the scenarios for I know the World Economic Forum is meeting today, right? Had their meeting today. They were bragging that they set the policies for the entire planet. They were bragging. They were actually bragging. Klaus Schwab himself was there. I thought somebody already killed that fucking piece of shit. B-61 families of bombs. These are ancient bombs. They're not going to use them. They just, because it costs money, right, to maintain them. The industry is insane. You can't use it. You can't cash your checks anymore if you use it. They're not going to use it. Currently, the bombs are integrated with a B-2. They already bombed the shit out of you for several decades. The Soviet Union's biggest bomb was equal to 3,800 Nagasaki bombs going off at the same time. 3,800. 3,800. When you look up how many nuclear bombs were set off worldwide in history, Nagasaki is one of them. There's a couple of thousand, right? But the Soviet Union's single bomb was 3,800 Nagasaki bombs. Not 2,000, but 3,800. Castle Bravo was, in the United States, big bomb, was considered over 1,000 Nagasaki bombs going off at the same time. 1,000. 1,000. It was lethal doses within 5,000 square miles or something of downwind. Sake import surges as the yen weakens. Oh, Fukushima, will you ever leave this planet alone long enough to survive? So what they're doing is they're taking the rice that nobody will touch, and they're turning it into sake. The Fukushima prefecture had opened sake shops themselves, the government, in New York City. That's some serious evil stuff right there. There's a surge in sake imports highlights the changing consumer trends. Only sake, Japanese rice wines, surged due to depreciation of the yen. Only sake from the nuclear wasteland, I'm sure. From South Korea Customs was $24 million. But they don't ship sake only to South Korea. 24 million here, 50 million there, 100 million here. Disgusting. Yes, Ohio. What are they going to do with these people? Ohio passes a new law redefining nuclear power as clean and green and too cheap to meter energy. Clean green. The Perry Nuclear Power Generation Station on the shores of Lake Erie. On the shores of Lake Erie. Right near Cleveland, which is right here. Cleveland's right there. Probably, what is it? I don't know, 50, 60 miles away maybe, or closer. That's Lake Erie. These are the Great Lakes. Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Georgia Bay, Lake Ontario. That's the third biggest aquifer of fresh water on the entire planet. It's the third biggest aquifer on the entire planet of fresh water. Hang on a second. I need something put there so I can get back to my spot. That's the Great Lakes. Let me paste this first. Let me grab that picture. Copy. Let me come all the way up here. I got a map of the Great Lakes of the nuclear dumps or the nuclear plants and nuclear reprocessing sites. Gonna make me work for it, are you? Damn you, computer. Did that go MI6 on me? How is that even possible? Oh, I'll get it. I'll find it later and get it back. I should have been right there. I apologize for the delay. Remember we were talking about the dirty bombs from the A-10 Warthog? That's what you're looking at there. It only shoots dirty bombs. The United States, and you can see the A-10 Warthog right alongside of Captain Dirty Bomb Killer Machine, studied the question of disposal of 35.7 million ammunition with a core of depleted uranium. They're not tipped and they're not coated. They're pure depleted uranium. Depleted uranium, they call it depleted. It's a completely dishonest thing to say. It's completely disingenuous. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, well, let's keep going here because I got to find out and put that back in my spot here. That's okay. We'll get there. Here we go. So they're right on the Great Lakes, and everything is downhill. Every nuclear power plant is downhill to the water, right alongside the water. How long does it take the radioactive fallout to reach the fresh water? I wonder. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds from the fuel pools. How long does it take? How far away is the water again? I can't see it. Oh, it's right there, Dana. Backers say a law adding nuclear power to the definition of green energy will give them another option to cut carbon emissions. So it's the equivalent of me taking a piece of copper and calling it gold and getting angry when the bank won't accept it as gold. Like you can't take something that's the dirtiest industry in history, period. Then these two gas, oil, and coal plants dedicated to it, to build it, to maintain it and run it, and to decommission it. It's like 100 years of it. It needs dedicated to external power plants, gas, oil, and coal. It can't run on its own energy. It released so much pollution in that time, everybody on the planet should hang their head in shame. Yeah, all the senators were all aboard. Oh, wow, we're going to call it green, so now we got green energy. Go take a poor old farm horse hauling a plow and put a very expensive saddle on it and call him a racehorse. It doesn't work, right? Nuclear energy takes center stage at Davos. I watched some of it. The first part, you got Klaus Schwab saying how 3,500 key government leaders in positions of influence in all these countries are making the decisions for the entire planet. They're paving the way for whatever their fantasy is. It's a really spectacle. It's worth watching. For decades, nuclear energy was relegated to the sidelines of the global debate on climate change. Because it's the dirtiest energy on the planet. It's pulsing energy every second. So imagine an invisible snowstorm, pulsing energy every second for millions of years, and then calling that carbon free. If you got no carbon, you got no trees, no insects, no birds, no puppies. How can you have no puppies? So this is the Neptunium-239, which in 2.5 days decays to plutonium-239. Yay. Which killed all the puppies. With bone tumors, liver tumors, and lung tumors. The majority of them died from the bone tumors, and then their miserable life, they're producing all these radioactive stem cells. All the species, right? So that model up there to your left-hand side is only 20 days of radioactive fallout. But think of that invisible plume pulsing energy at the speed of light from 240,000 years. It's like a snowstorm, except you can't see it. And every snowflake, instead of being snow, it's invisible and it's pulsing energy in every direction, almost at the speed of light. It's not supposed to be. We call it man-made because the sun doesn't make it. There's not elements from the solar system. It's not part of the periodic table pre-nuclear industry. And therefore, there's nothing on the planet with an autoimmune trigger that knows how to defend against it once it gets infests your body. And in the 50s and 60s, the doctors who were dealing with radioactive fallout victims described it as a biological weapon. And an insidious one, one of the worst conceivable. Oh yeah, nuclear-powered high-speed rails. Some genius wants to have National Party leader David Littleproud. It's got an appropriate name anyway. Littleproud. Said the federal coalition was broadly supportive of the government's high-speed rail plans. One key exception. It believes nuclear energy is needed to power the trades. Let's get it on, baby. We got a high-speed Chernobyl going down the road. We don't see train accidents very often, do we? It's crazy, boy. Oh, this one's one of my favorite stories today. It's hard to pick a favorite when there's so much evil, right? It's hard. It really is. A lot of work goes into it, right? Me and the old crew sit around, we're like, that's pretty fucking evil, but look at this. Holy shit. No, somebody else will play, no, look at this story. They're crazy. That's nuclear. Never a good story. It's never a good story. Ever. We've never seen a good story on nuclear all these years. We've been doing this itineration type show, presentation, for over a decade, and we've never seen a good story on nuclear. What does that tell us, I wonder? We got some fucking pretty terrifying stories, I can tell you that much. Locked out guards at Hanford nuclear site reaches a contract. Guards. What do you need guards at a nuclear wasteland for? Somebody got to go steal it. You'd be so lucky. I'm losing my throat here tonight. Let's keep going. No breaks for Dana. The Hanford guards, well, you're going to love some of this stuff, at the Hanford site for 47 days. It blows my mind. Like, to be a guard, you got to have a high school education and a license to carry a gun, right? That's it. They will call the guards back to work. Here they are. Look at this. Some spectacle, eh? So when they go home now, they wash their laundry in this nuclear wasteland. They're wondering why their kids got heart problems and liver problems and lung problems and respiratory, pituitary and thyroid problems because they're bringing all this radioactive dust home. Their job is to keep away any cameramen and anybody with a Geiger counter. You see them with a Geiger counter, you're legally allowed to shoot them, I think. And what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go grab the fucking radioactive waste and bring it to safety? Hanford Patrol Unit guards. You should be protecting the employees instead of out playing these fucking games all the time. The Hanford Patrol Special Response Team is conducting vehicle assaults, possible terrorists. They're worried about. So this is meant to, like, make them feel self-worth or something? Is that what this is all about? Do you really think someone's going to go to Hanford and try to steal deadly nuclear waste? All you got to do is be homeless on the street for a couple of weeks down there, and you'll get jacked and brought there to go to work, and you can steal all you want anyway. These people are nuts. Dave Donovan. He's the vice president of the International Guards Union. Of course, they got a union. It's nuclear. Of the American Regional Council 1 and the Hanford Guard. He's a patriot. Poor fucking dogs. Sniffing all that radioactive dust. The people are nuts, eh? It said the nuclear site will remain safe and secure, staffed by experienced and qualified, exempt security police officers and active security professionals. You know, the guys with a high school diploma and a license to carry a gun, right? The Hanford Patrol and Armed Protective Force provides security for a 580 square mile nuclear wasteland. You couldn't pay me enough fucking money to take that job. Go down a nuclear wasteland and run around stirring up dust all the fucking time. Just 585 miles because it's a nuclear wasteland. They dumped the equivalent. It was a 450 billion gallons. It still doesn't sink into people's minds. It's equal to an aquarium of nuclear waste 6 feet wide, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet. More than once. They dumped in the soil in the 50s and 60s. Not counting everything else. Not counting everything else. There's a Manhattan, the secrecy. They had scientists spying on the scientists, spying on the scientists. They had detectives and spies and everything. Duties include protecting radioactive material. Come on, I know some of you putting some in your pocket. Don't do it, by the way, because it'll kill your loved ones too. Providing active shooter response. And deterring and responding to radiological and toxicological sabotage, even by events by terrorists and others. Sabotage events by terrorists. Have they ever stopped anybody in the last 80 years? No. Why not? Because it's a nuclear wasteland. Even terrorists ain't fucking stupid enough to go down there. If they did want to be down there, all they got to do is get a high school education and a license to carry a gun, they'll get hired. They're desperate for employees down there. It's the stupidest freaking story I've ever read. It's literally, it's such a sad story because all of these people are going to get sick and bring it home to their kids and their wives and their loved ones in their clothing, right? They'll stick their laundry in with the other laundry and the bedding and everything else. Next thing you know, over the next couple of months, everything is radioactive. And then, everybody's sick. It's normal. Everybody gets the flu and can't get rid of it. You know why? Because your immune systems are compromised. Because you got so much radiation in your body, you're producing so many white blood cells, your immune system is vulnerable to pathogens and viruses. They were normally harmless and innocuous and benign. The Hanford nuclear site produced plutonium for the nation's nuclear weapons from World War II through the Cold War. It still has radioactive material and contaminated as environmental cleanups continue. A number of the guards is not made public for security reasons. So they give them all this equipment so they feel like they're important or something like that. Actually, there was one video there that I was trying to get converted, but for some stupid today, I can't seem to get anything to work. Just give me a second. You might hear some audio. Ignore that. I'll bring the video up in a second for you. This is the first look at it. Oh, hang on. There we go. Maybe I get it right. So I got the winch on the back of the bike. Look at that, or the skidoo. And I do got one on the bike last week. Oh. Sounds good. She's quiet, man. That's loose and rattles, eh? She is quiet. That's a few hours ago. Yeah, that's just a few hours ago. This was when I put together. I don't know how it was going to work out. I had a few problems. That's why I had that one on my desktop tonight. You'll see there's a few little glitches. It's just a 1-minute video. It gives you a recap of how today played out. Hopefully.
And so,
butcher that.
And then this mounts on top of that. Mounts on top of that, the other way. This end gets welded onto the skidoo, right? We're in business. That should work. That should be working. Oh, I'm liking this. We're in business.
We're in business, baby. Yeah, she looks good. I gotta admit. I gotta get a cover for that now, I guess, eh? That's a 4,500 pound. So that's the third winch in 2 weeks that well, that one, I didn't have one on that before, right? But I'm very grateful to get this for it. And I got no choice today because if it keeps snowing, I want to be able to go, right? And so it was do or die. I only finished it probably 5 hours before I went live tonight. There was nothing can stop me either. Right? I was like, I don't give a shit. That is getting done. That's getting done. And I'll catch up to the rest of it tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. I tried to download Economic Forums video before I went live tonight, but I was having a problem downloading it for some reason. An Army surgeon involved in U.S. nuclear weapons development repeatedly warned about the impact of radiation on humans. This is an important story. Top U.S. official minimized radiation impact. We've covered similar stories, quite a lot of similar stories like about this. Where am I to? Oh, here we go. I'm lost. I can't see myself. An Army surgeon involved in United States nuclear weapons development repeatedly. We haven't looked at the poll, have we? Hang on here. Let's hit the poll again. Has Fukushima radioactive fire contaminated and poisoned all water, every species, and every human on the entire planet? Yes, it has. Yeah. I got 19 people, 19 likes. We're only an hour into the show. How is that even possible? We got that much. It's amazing. Sarcasm, folks. The Americans got the censorship lifted on them, but I haven't got it lifted on me. I'm in Canada. I'm pathetic. I live in Canada. I'm sorry. An Army surgeon involved in U.S. nuclear weapons development repeatedly warned about the impact of radiation on hormones. What about the birds and the bees and the trees and the animals and the whales? But the Manhattan Project site chief sought to downplay the danger to manage public perception of such weapons. The chief, which was Groves, I can't remember. His grandson said, not Groves, but working as I can tell you horror stories actually of scientists and doctors who worked with the military and what was done to them. Everybody was a victim, literally. Surgeon James F. Nolan became aware of the radiation impacts on humans through pre-tests. In 1945, he submitted a report directly to Army General Leslie Groves, Groves, aiming to raise concerns about the health risks. This is Oppenheimer era, right? Of nuclear weapons, according to the surgeon's grandson, James Nolan Jr. because of the problem. Groves was primarily concerned with the issues related to security secrecy. He was obsessed with it. And therefore, health and safety matters were entirely secondary for him. Was Enrico Fermi alive at this time, I wonder? Did he get to see what his fruits of labor ended up causing? Most of these people will be tickled pink, actually. The Army General eventually agreed to implement some safety measures and evacuation preparedness. What they done with some communities in the United States during testing was gave them like $10 or $15 because they had to stay in their houses with the windows closed for a few hours while the plume passed by. That's what they actually done to them. Then he said, okay, everything's safe. Come on out, play in the garden, kids. They studied every one of those kids and their kids, if they were lucky enough to have any or unlucky enough to have any. The Army generals eventually agreed to implement some safety measures, evacuation preparations, but continued to dismiss warnings from his subordinates, which is everybody. They had spies spying on the scientists, and they had spies spying on the spies and spies spying on the other spies. They were obsessed with, and they hired a lot of uneducated people, like literally illiterates, on purpose because they knew that they wouldn't be capable of reading secret materials and stuff like that. And even they were spied on. When asked why Leslie Groves was reluctant to acknowledge the health issues related to the nuclear weapons, Nolan Jr. said, I think that his concern was that it could look bad for the Manhattan Project. That's when Hanford dumped 450 billion gallons of if you took a liter of this stuff and put it at McDonald's, everybody walks in there will be dead in 20 minutes. And you can drag their bodies out and do that every 20 minutes for 1,000,000 years. There was an aquarium of that stuff, when you added it all up, was equal to 6-foot wide aquarium, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet more than once. That's just that one. So they weren't worried about health issues for every species and every human. It's just the whole legacy of this industry is this absolute contempt for everything and everybody, and for the future. That's what the industry represents. No future. You can't have a future and nuclear. That's simply the way it is. And there was a general sense that the chemical and biological warfare, so they were describing it back then as a biological weapon. It's a biological warfare. The radioactive fallout is way worse than we ever dreamt, right? Let me give you a few examples of that. Yeah, it just makes me sick because this could have been a wonderful planet. We could have had a great planet, right? The world could have easily sustained a population. You can count the decline of the species to the nuclear weapons testing, and all species crashed. Salmon, you name it, birds, insects, all species, particularly the bases of the food chain, the oxygen chain, the carbon sequestering chain, those species crashed. And now we see post-Fukushima devastating effects. I don't know what was I supposed to be doing? That's not a very good question. Let me keep going here. But the reason we got the Skidoo is so we can get out and look for species. We know there's a extinction event playing out. And we got 6 years of hardcore research. I mean, hardcore too. Research expeditions. 4 to 5 months on the ocean without coming home. That's hardcore. From Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska, 27,000 dangerous islands, 3 million reefs under the water ready to sink your boat or tear the leg off your motor. In some way, you could say that these ongoing effects of radiation were in the same category as chemical and biological warfare. No, many, not just this doctor, but many had acknowledged it as a biological weapon. Biological warfare is the same, right? Well, the radiation gets in your body, the anthropogenic man-made atom. You can put 2 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. Just one of them gets in your body, and the sequesters, it binds into your lungs or to your muscles, your organs, and your bones. And it's pulsing energy almost at the speed of light. Now remember, cesium-137, for instance, will pulse energy 600 feet. So it's in your body, it pulses this energy almost at the speed of light in every direction, and that's killing all these cells and DNA and chromosomes, and it's causing lesions to your organs. Every second, your body has to repair all of this damage and attack the source. And then it pulses a massive energy again. So your body gets this electrical pulse in your body. Now, I got studies. I don't know where the hell they're to anymore. I got to look them up again. I can probably find them if I try. Where radio waves, certain frequencies will excite the atoms and make them pulse even worse. So it's a very, very scary, frightening thought when we look at the technology today, right? When he managed to have a chance to sit down with the Army General to discuss the matter, Groves called him a propagandist for suggesting there was adverse side effects to the radioactive fallout. Basically called him a traitor. Nothing was important, only power, see? According to the professor's research, 2 days before the world's first nuclear test, on July the 16th, James Nolan departed for the Pacific Island, carrying highly enriched uranium intended for the Hiroshima atomic bomb. The purpose of his trip to Tania was to observe the health of personnel involved in transporting and assembling the bombs. So just being in proximity to the trigger was considered very significant health impacts. On September 9th, about a month after the first atomic bombing, he entered the devastated Hiroshima as part of a U.S. military research team. And during the visit, the team witnessed people still dying from radiation exposure. Of course, Japan denied health care to the survivors for 70 years. Prime Minister Suga finally gave in before he stepped down 2 years ago, whatever it was. But it's only a fraction, a percent of the survivors are left, right? You're talking about 70 years down the road. During the visit, the research team witnessed people still dying from radiation exposure. It's really something, isn't it? The contempt that they have for everybody. You know, they were like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A lot of people don't realize about these nuclear bombs, what was really happened in the detonation zone. There's a lot of survivors talking about how animals like horses and pigs and stuff like that were tossed 600, 700, 800 feet up into the air and died when they hit the ground on the way back down. Oh, I don't know. I guess they died from the acceleration way up in the environment. But I think what they meant by that was just the devastation of the bodies when they came back down and hit the earth, because they didn't know back then, right? And there was a lot of secrecy. This is what they didn't want the health impacts to get into the equation. It's better to kill everybody than lose the war. And reported that their findings to Groves, however, in his congressional testimony in Washington at the end of November 1945, he completely denied the severe suffering caused by radiation to the A-bomb survivors. And even today, the Japanese still refuse to acknowledge it in many ways. They do now provide health care after 70 years of saying there was no issue. And their story was people didn't inhale enough. And so and Geraldine Thomas was one of the major researchers down there for many years. They only studied external doses to the victims. But as you can see in the story, people were dying a month later from radiation. And we do, I've done presentations, you can find them on this current site, of Nagasaki, Hiroshima's anniversaries, where I provide oodles of academic studies to help point you in the right direction and get you properly educated. Yeah, we've never seen a good story from the nuclear industry. It's the damnedest thing, isn't it? He completely denied the severe suffering. And you got to be a special kind of scumbag to do that, haven't you? I think, yeah. Well, like a lot of people can have conjectures and opinions, but you know, again, there's the Marshall Islands. So let me bring up that study on the Marshall Islands because we brought it up twice tonight. It's not fair to those who might not have seen that documentation that they should be at least aware that there is evidence that there's over 1 million square kilometers not habitable. It'll take me a second. Longer than normal. I found it. In your face. This was published in, let me get it out of the way, 2019. You can barely see it there. You can look the study up, though. It's 2019. Radioactive fallout from the testing program contaminated a huge swath of land and ocean, extending over 1 million square kilometers, and severely impacted the habitability of the affected atolls. Well, they atomized and aerosoled a whole bunch of the atolls, and they were ionized and radiated once they're released into the environment, right? And then the children would go out and play on the nuclear wrecks. They don't know any better. What they done down there was just, there's no need to destroy all these tropical paradises, like the French Polynesian Islands, like Christmas Island, like the Marshall Islands, like Maralinga, Montebello's. Based on the device of the radiation, these were tropical paradise. Why destroy that with radiation? They know it was leaving a lot of radiation because that's why they went out there. They couldn't radiate their own country anymore. They would have, but someone created a law and made them stop it. Savages, eh? Based on the advice of the radiation safety doctors, including James Nolan, who were in the Marshall Islands, a nuclear test called Charlie was cancelled because, like, Castle Bravo was equal to 1,000 Nagasaki's going off at one time. The radioactive fallout was 7,000 miles away, significant radioactive fallout. It covers the whole planet. We now know how it works. It covers the whole planet. I'm glad people are talking about it, though. I'm glad there's still people trying to keep this conversation going. Rare chestnut tiger butterfly flies from Japan to Hong Kong. Couldn't wait to get out of Japan, eh? Like, this place is the shits. And Repulse Base had a new record for the longest migration of the species. He had a tag on it. That's the Japanese one. They didn't eat it. Discovered a rare butterfly had flown 3,000 kilometers from Japan. New world record for the longest migration recorded for the species. That's incredible, eh? 3,000 kilometers from a butterfly? I can't even fly a couple of feet. It's amazing. A tag on its wing bore Japanese characters in the date August 18 indicated that it had been tagged and released in Fukushima 4 months earlier. Ah, yes. The Scoop, Radioactive Pacific. This is 2013. This showed up in the search engine. That's the tsunami, right? And so there was a lot. There was an incredible amount of the pro-nuclear community was pumping that everywhere. All kinds of videos saying, oh my God, it's Fukushima radioactive fallout. And when people get in the comment section, they'll come in with another account and say, hey, stupid, it's a tsunami. But there were models of the radioactive fallout from the Pacific. And that was a German model. This is NOAA's model. The 30th of March, 2011. And this is cesium-137. Of course, we know that's true because there was 1 million to 10 million atoms in the French study of cesium-137 in North America, right? Yeah, I was like, there's no way I can do a show tonight. I'm just too burnt out. And I was like, fuck that, I'm doing a show. Still got some more pictures coming up later. I showed you videos, right? A little slack here tonight. This was the French government study of the IRS, which is the French government itself, spiked over 1 million times normal on the West Coast, Canada, United States. It was actually 1 million to 10 million atoms. Well, it was a lot more than that, right? They say times. What's left over from nuclear fallout days, right? So you might be talking about 30 million atoms per cubic meter of air. There's a lot of these studies, by the way, different countries, of the actual isotopes. It's not a game, right? But it's such a dishonest thing, right, that this was Ken Buechler. And right, you see that there? Good thing the map got nothing to do with radioactivity. Instead of showing you one that does, like this one, the French, the German, or one like that, which is the French government. I mean, that's only 8 days of radioactive fallout you're looking there, by the way. Scumbags. That a bite of a Pacific-born fish is more harmful than 300 or 3,000 Big Macs. Cancer-inducing aggressor from the Pacific. Killer's playground. Waist-high waves are now deadly. And a bite of a Pacific-born fish is more harmful than 3,000 Big Macs. But is any of this worry warranted? These are scumbags to say something like that, by the way. A single atom, though, when it's in your body attacks it for the rest of your life and builds a tumor around it. And of course, you got Ken Buechler. And Ken was spinning. He was just spinning on the songs and dances. We covered his presentations about Chernobyl, but one of them was at MIT or Harvard University, and the students that were in the audience were laughing at him. He was an assistant. He wasn't an academic. Not the name drop, but he studied in Chernobyl for 4 years. Facts from Fishing. Big Ken, of course, explains why this little weasel took me to court to tie me up in litigation. Him and his butt plug buddy, Jay Cullen. And I had to block him on my site, even though they chased me to court and got me 6 fucking gag orders. We must warn you about soy sauce. The sodium out there is out of control. So again, right, just mocking the reality of what was going on. Like, you got studies, actual French government studies right away, showing hideous amounts of radioactive fallout. And like, this was right away. But it didn't peak until the following year, allegedly, right? They show you that map, which is when there's real maps out there. Like, there's real maps out there. They didn't need to show you that one, right? All right. That's right. And this is Ken Buechler here. Listen to him. Or next one. When you put milk in your coffee and start stirring, you see streaks at first. Eventually, all becomes that light color. The ocean behaves in a similar fashion. And the radioactive isotopes mix with the current, and those currents slowly move across the Pacific and they reach our shores. Like, why would you use the word milk? And there were levels tens of thousands of times lower than what we found in Japan. Yeah, of course they will be. Japan was just hideous amounts. But just a couple of 11 atoms a kilogram is enough to give children permanent heart problems. It's enough to wipe out the insects. He said they're already low enough off Japan to be safe, but they're going to be even lower off our coast. It was such a weasel, despicable thing to do. There are already radioactive atoms in our ocean, but they aren't dangerous. He's talking about natural stuff. We have naturally occurring radionuclides. And of course, on a story with a fake radioactive fallout when there's plenty of real ones of the radioactive fallout. I mean, do you really think, like, seriously, do you really think that when you ban the food in 14 prefectures by 55 countries for a decade, not 3 years, but a decade, that there's anything fucking safe down there? Do you really think there is? Are you really that gullible? Are you really that naive? Are you? Huh? 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 And this story keeps showing up, don't it? The safest deadly poison in the world. Fukushima is the best advertisement for nuclear power and its safety. So safe they banned the food in 14 prefectures for a fucking decade. This was the Union of Unconcerned Scientists, the Bulletin of Unconcerned Scientists, rather. They're even worse. They were started by the Manhattan Project scientists on top of that. How Fukushima radioactive fallout in Tokyo was concealed from the public. So they talk about tritium. Like, we got studies of uranium, plutonium, neptunium. My goodness, we got studies. Let me bring up a couple for you. Just to educate you a little tiny bit. Like, every time I see tritium, right, what they're trying to do, because that's the Japanese narrative, is tritium, right? But if you actually look at what happened, I already showed you a model from the French government of cesium-137, over 10 to 20 million atoms per cubic meter of air. This is sustained forever. A continuous plume covering the whole fucking planet. The same thing with Neptunium-239, which decays to plutonium-239. Here, oh, by the way, there's a plutonium-239 covering the entire planet. It's not going away. And there's nothing on the planet with an autoimmune trigger can defend against it. And so for them to come out with tritium, it's almost too much to bear for me sometimes. Israel has decided to attack Iran's nuclear sites. They're always attacking somebody's nuclear sites. Lindsey Graham wants the military action against Iran's nuclear program. Doesn't he look like the epitome of a soulless creature? He personally would strangle everybody left in Palestine if he thought he can get away with it. Has long encouraged punitive actions against Iran. Long? Well, he's been there since Jesus was a baby. Especially as Israelis war against Hamas, a key Iranian proxy. There's 48 French, American, English, and Israeli military bases on Iran's border for 30-something years. Not the other way around. So who's the really aggressor? Big censorship tonight, eh? I deserve it. I shouldn't be honest. The only one people that feeds everybody fluff, right? Raged in. There's no raging. Gaza, the people in Gaza, whether it's Hamas or Palestinians, don't have jet fighters, don't have satellites, don't have sophisticated drones, don't have 6,000 tanks, don't have 10,000 artillery cannons, don't have a navy, don't have an air force, don't have uniforms, right? The Israelis have. They're dressed up like tin soldiers, all of them, right? And well, what they're doing is they're bringing in all the vulnerable and gullible Israelis, the Zionists from around the world, that come in and serve for your religion. You know, you're stupid. Let me try this again here. With a 6-week ceasefire now in effect in Gaza. So, yeah, what happens on week 7, I wonder? So stupid. Benjamin Netanyahu, if he stops the war, they're going to arrest him. So he's going to break that today or last night or tomorrow morning, right? That'll be broken. See, there is no ceasefire. By the way, Israel didn't pull out. Sorry about that. Longtime ally Senator Lindsey Graham, the monster's monster, is urging President-elect Donald Trump to go after Iran with force to target Tehran's nuclear program. If you piss off Tehran, they're going to take out Israelis' infrastructure on day one. Their water, their electricity, all of it. If they attack Tehran's nuclear sites, they're going to attack Israelis' nuclear sites. And Israel will be crying, they attacked our nuclear site. They're terrorists. Gives $1 trillion a week and kill them. There's a 1 in a million trillion chance you'll degrade the Iranian nuclear program through diplomacy, Graham told him. And disgusting CBS faced the nation. There's a 90% chance you'll degrade it through military action by Israel, supported by the United States. It won't work, though. They're ready for you, man. They're ready to launch 100,000 supersonic missiles at Israel in a drop of a hat now. You've ostracized them for so many decades. They went deep underground. You can't take it out. So the next topic I will be engaging in with President Trump is to take this moment in time to decimate the Iran nuclear program because they're so exposed. They're not exposed. This is a religious Nazi regime, Graham told Brennan. Really? And the Zionist Jews are not Nazi religious zonkers who only read the Torah and Talmud? They don't work. They don't pay any taxes. All the taxpayers have to pay for every one of them. And the perpetual inbreeding. And the arrogance. All they do is read 2 stupid fucking books. But the victims who don't have a military, don't have a navy, don't have air forces, they're not the biggest welfare place on the planet like Israel, which is the 4th biggest weapons producer on the planet. On top of that, the fourth biggest producer of miseries is what a weapon machine is. And he calls them religious Nazi regime. Graham is Nazi. He's the epitome of a fucking Nazi. Belgium shut down their nuclear reactor and staged a course in a 2025 nuclear exit. Loving it. So Belgium is going to be nuke free this year. They're going to shut down the nuclear reactor at the Dzair power plant on Monday due to a fault in the distribution pump. Remember that place? We've covered this place before. Those tall red and white stacks? That's where they're pumping the fuel pool emissions up. Look at all these houses within walking distance of a nuclear disease factory. And way in the background, what do you see? Oh, that's right, farms, Dana. As far as the eye can see in every direction, yeah? And then you got people actually living right in the radioactive nuclear wasteland zone. It's insane. At 3 Mile Island, instead of everybody running away, they ran towards the reactor. It's like, oh, fuck. What the hell is going through your heads, boy? Under a government agreement finalized in 2021, Belgium aims to shut down all 7 nuclear reactors by 2025. Woo, baby, I can't wait. But don't worry, the scumbags are still going to locate an investment of 100 million euros, or pounds, or sterlings, in research for advanced small modular reactors. You can't get rid of them. They're literally like the plague, eh? Widespread public protests in recent years have called for the immediate closures of certain reactors over safety concerns. No, it's all their reactors. That's why they're closing them all, stupid. Amherstburg is going to offer up 2 two lousy iodate pills. You can pick them up this events this week. Like, if you live in a place where they're giving you that, you need to sell and get the fuck out of the nuclear wasteland. You're in a nuclear wasteland. You're within 10 miles of a nuclear plant. You're in a nuclear wasteland. The fuel pools can't contain it. Everything is vented. The reactor cores you're taking and putting in the fuel pool every 14 months are still splitting atoms that they would to boil water for a million homes. You really fucking think you're invisible? You know there's 15 times more breast cancer, or 6 times more breast cancer within 15 miles of a nuclear plant? Leukemia rates are skyrocket. Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, Down syndrome are off the fucking charts. The purpose is to ensure those living in the nuclear wasteland, or those closest to the Fermi 2, Fermi 1 melted down, nuclear power plant in Michigan have a fresh supply of the pills, which was another one of those stupid sodium reactors that melted down. Every one of them melted down, worldwide. KI pills block the thyroid from absorbing radioactive iodine. First off, the biggest byproduct of radiated fuel rods is curium isotopes. Curium, you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for the stupid fucking plutonium, monstrous plutonium, which is infinitely worse than the iodine. The iodine is brutal. And it's not just iodine's 131. The ratios of this stuff is frightening. It doesn't prevent the development of thyroid cancer. It's absurd to suggest that, because any kind of gammas will aggregate in the thyroid, not just iodine. Cesium, 134, 137, is going to be a huge amount of that pluming out of there. Despite the Fermi 2 plant being in the United States, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, this was really interesting. The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, I gotta save that, to the perpetual lawyers that this industry is a perpetual lying machine, mandates that all residents within the plant's primary zone have potassium pills readily available. You got to take them 24, 48 hours for the nuclear accident, for fuck's sakes. A floating nuclear disease factory in Russia's Arctic generates big volume of radioactive fallout because they took fuel out of the reactor and put it in the fuel pool. The stupid fuckers. I'm swearing, I might as well give it up, I suppose. I just caught myself, just realized, like, oh crap, I'm gone in the Dana mode. Algeria, we already done this one. Algeria, bless their hearts. France has gone through 10 administrations and still won't acknowledge radioactive fallout has any adverse side effects. What does that tell us? I tell you, this industry is disgusting, eh? We already covered those stories. I tell you enough. Yeah, we covered all these. It must be finished. Say it ain't so, Dana. No, I think I'm finished. Yeah, I'm finished. The only thing left to do is a few pictures of the Skidoo. The little devil there again. It's a few pictures. So opened up the shed, ran it out there, hooked up the little welder. Hooked up the little welder. That's the little cab I put on the quad, eh? I got to put the heater on that, and then the glass will come clean. It's so you can see it really good on the inside. But it's way better than just being in the bitter wind. It covers right, it goes right down to your feet too, right? And then the back part where the muffler's down here, right? So you're not going to be getting any exhaust in there. There's a lot of work to get that, make that frame up. I welded up the frame for that too. And then we welded up. That took quite a long time today to weld everything up. But because yesterday that was green and rainy and 9 degrees, today it's like minus 15 wind chill. Tonight's in minus 18 wind chill. And so I got to get a cover, I guess, for the winch. That's the third new winch this week, or in 2 weeks. Blows my mind. It feels like every few days I'm putting another winch on. It's crazy. It's literally crazy, eh? But now she's done anyway. Everything's plugged in, all good to go. She's solid too. 8-eye winch is friggin' solid. I got to do some more tidying up more with the wires. I got to clip off some of those zip ties. I haven't cleaned up because it was almost dark when I finished. And she's a big bastard, eh? She takes a lot of gas too. I think like 11 gallons of gas or something, which is a long time. So it's 4-stroke. It's very quiet. Fuel injected. It's a liquid cooled. It's 800 cc, so it's a big ass motor, and she's so quiet. It'd be a lot easier to sneak up on the rocks and the trees, because there ain't no animals out there to sneak up on. But you got to get out there and look for prints, right? Look for any kind of bird print or any kind of animal, and I'll get we still got trail cameras, right? We'll put them back out and go fish them out every couple of days and see what we got on. She's a big boy. That's why you got to have a winch on it. I can't lift it. She's actually huge. She's a huge machine, right? It's hard to appreciate how big it. It's hard to appreciate how good she is. Just look at the plastic on this thing. Like there's no sun damage whatsoever. Everything is literally cheery. All the plastic, the seats and everything, they're perfect. Everything is perfect. You got heated grips too, which is a big deal. You got to pick up another mirror. That one, I only got one mirror, but that's it, I guess. That's all she wrote for day and night. Thank God the night is over. Where am I telling her? Oh, here we go. All right. We got snow squalls all day and tonight. Quite a bit of snow, hopefully, tomorrow by the looks of it. It's minus 18. And every day from here on until who knows when is going to be minus 10, minus 15, minus 20. It's going to be rough. That's okay, though. Looks good. Yeah, Trent, the weather is miserable. Freezing. Froze my ass off all day long. I had to start tightening up the ship because snow showed up right out of the blue. Wasn't expecting snow squalls. It's not over. Every day except for one day this week is snow. And next week it's looking like not a lot, but that's how it plays out every year, where you'll see this trend where the temperatures dive. They're calling for regular snow, like a couple of centimeters all day long, 5-6 centimeters all day long. And then you wake up next morning, and one of these mornings, next 3, 4, 5 days, and it's like, bam. Oh, I thought we had the poll up here. Last chance to vote on the poll. Has Fukushima radioactive fallout contaminated and poisoned all the water, fresh and seawater on the planet? Every species, 8 million, all the 8 million species, and every human on Earth. Hell yeah, Dana. That's exactly what happens. And I know James got a new song out. I put a link there earlier. But I don't know. That song really, after about 1 minute, that song started growing on me. I was like, wow, I love this. Because he got so many great songs, right? You're like, can he keep it up? Is it possible to keep that trend going? Well, hell yeah, Dina. I have no idea what happened that time. Hang on here. Oh, it's got another one up. No way. Practically Erased under the International Atomic Energy. Amazing song. He's got Radioactive Cream Box. That's a crazy video, eh? Manufacturing Nuclear Consent. Really, really important, excellent music. Pink Hydrogen, I friggin' loved that. And I friggin' loved Too Costly to Meter. And James has just put Meltdown Queen up on Spotify. It just showed up on Spotify yesterday. So that's a friggin' big deal. He's transcending now, and he's a legal company too, right? Corium Records. He's the real deal, okay? So maybe you get other people, artists out there anti-nuclear, he can pick them up when he starts getting... So if you know any DJs now out there, start sending his music from Spotify. Look him up on Spotify. Send that music out to the DJs. Like, we got to support people that are trying to encourage him to keep going, right? Because, especially music. Music, man, is the best weapon out there, period. Let's do this one. I haven't heard this one. He just posted it during the show, Atomic Lessons. Make sure you get over there and give him a thumbs up.
Teach us the story, the power they claim. Frame it in numbers that all look the same. Balance the ledger, the profits align. The cracks in the system, they call it design. Atomic lessons etched in decay. Promises falter, they slip away. Framed in science, the risks unwind. Truth distorted, the lines confined. Progress, the vision they sell. Rewrite the failures, the stories they tell. Jobs and growth, they call it the way. But the fractures spread with every delay. Whistleblowers vanish, the warnings distort. The dangers remain in the files they report. They spin the fix, they sell the trust. But the cracks persist, where the steel turns to rust. Atomic lessons etched in decay. Promises falter, they slip away. Framed in science, the risks unwind. Truth distorted, the lines confined. Tell us the future, ignore what decays. Sell us a plan that dissolves in the haze. The lines collapse, the warnings stray, but the lessons remain in the debts we pay.